And I've been giving teachings on the Sermon on the Mount. And the message today is, the title of my message is Lying Vows. And it's Matthew chapter 5, verses 33 to 37. Okay. Again, you have heard that it was said to the ancients, "Do not break your oath, but fulfill your vows to the Lord." But I tell you not to swear at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Nor should you swear by your head, for you cannot make a single hair white or black. Simply let your yes be yes and your no be no. Anything beyond that comes from the evil one. Now, this particular portion of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus repeatedly says, "You have heard that it was said this, but I tell you that." Specifically, he's targeting the teachers who are called Pharisees. They were also Sadducees in that day, but the Pharisees were people that Jesus focused on their teaching because so often they missed the point. And here again, Jesus is looking at this particular teaching that the Pharisees had done, which is not any one verse in the Old Testament, but essentially a synopsis that the Pharisees created. In this situation, they're not necessarily lying about lying and vows, but we're going to see that they're missing the point. Jesus takes aim at the focus of these Pharisees, which was on the precise wording of a vow, on whether it was binding or not. They focused only on the choice of words, the terminology to make the vow binding or not. They drilled down on that, and they focused in on that. You see here that Jesus makes the point that the formula that you use for the vow is irrelevant. The relevant thing is honesty. And so you see here that no matter how the Pharisees tried to create vows which were from God and which needed to be enforced, and all the rest of the vows which didn't need to be enforced, Jesus said everything is from God, so therefore they all need to be enforced. Because if you swear to God, then you're swearing by God himself. But if you swear by heaven, it's God's. If you swear by the earth, it's his footstool. If you swear by Jerusalem, it's his city. Even if you swear by your own head, which is, if there's anything that you think is yours, it's your own head, God says, no, I made that. That's actually mine. And so you can't swear by any of these things without really referencing God. You know, when you were a kid and maybe you said, "Cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye," I don't know, something like that. Does anyone do that anymore? Probably not. But people still make oaths and people swear. I don't mean profanity swearing. I mean people try to show that their promise and that their intent to do what they said or what story they gave is true by saying, "Swear to God." Jesus wants to make the point here that the formula and the words that you attach to what you say does not increase the seriousness of the vow. It doesn't matter what you add to it. The vow is binding irrespective of the exact words that you use. That's what Jesus is saying. Don't be preoccupied with the wording and the formula. Do you ever just get into a discussion with somebody and that person over and over just misses the point of what you're saying? They literally just drill down onto something that's not even the focus. Like, stay with me on this. Track me, please. because you get bogged down. It's like playing games with someone and they always get bogged down with the rules. What's that? That's a poor sport, showing they're a poor sport a different way. And so we have here that people sometimes still today get bogged down with oaths. Now, I want to speak a lot about why we have vows. Vows are simply one reason. Vows exist because of human untruthfulness. That's why there are vows. Why do lawyers write contracts? Why do you have a lease and you have a contract or something for your employment? It's simply due to human untruthfulness. If there was no human untruthfulness, we would not have to make laws against it. Have you noticed that there's no laws about you jumping and flying through the sky? Do you know why there are none? Because people can't do it. If people could do it, they'd have to make all kinds of laws about it now, wouldn't they? So laws exist in these situations for that, and so people have created vows. But the problem with the vows are that, again, they so frequently get down to, well, is this a binding vow or a non-binding vow? Is this contract valid? Is this will valid? Is this situation valid? Did they shake on it? Some sort of man standard. However, as Christians, we should always speak the truth and keep our word. That's Jesus' point here. Okay, everybody can go home. No. It's really simple, though. Now, I want to get 2 points out of the way, and then I want to go much deeper in this, because, I want to go deeper. But first of all, why did God in the Old Testament sometimes use vows? That scared me. Why did he swear by himself? And this is not because God was trying to increase his credibility, but because of people's lack of faith. It had to do with the weakness of the person's ears, which we can understand that today, that God sometimes has to put an explanation point in front at the end of his things that he tells us for us to listen. The second thing is Jesus talking about when you go to court and you have to put your hand on the Bible and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the whole truth, so help me God, that this is something that we should not do. And I say that's ultimately a matter of individual conscience, but I do not believe that that is Jesus' point here. First of all, when he was before the high priest, and the high priest asked him to make a vow and swear whether he was the Son of God, he answered the question. But ultimately, if we get bogged down on these external institutions and whether we should do it there or not, we're missing the point again of what Jesus is trying to teach today. Do you follow me? Jesus is emphasizing that people do not need to resort to oaths. It's not about whether you need to refuse an oath if you're testified to give a witness in a court of law. Ultimately, oath-taking, and this is really important here, this is one of the biggest points, if not these. How about the second biggest point for those who are taking notes? Oath-taking or swearing to God, I swear to God, is really a pathetic confession of our own dishonesty. You're telling on yourself. Do you understand this? Just stop and ask yourself, do I say in my expressions, I swear to God, or honestly? You're talking to somebody, you throw the word honestly in. When somebody says to me honestly in the middle of a sentence, I like to ask, is everything else you said not honest? But that's this one sentence. There has never, ever, ever been a person who constantly says, I swear to God, honestly, who is an honest person, who is not a liar. And so if you use those expressions, it's because you're a liar. Now, to some extent, we know we are all liars. but it's the extent of lying. That when somebody resorts to that, they are telling on themselves. They are tipping their hand. I learned about this from Steve Solimene, this particular lesson, when I was 16 years old. 43 years ago, for those of you who are keeping score at home. That is a super valuable thing to know about people at 16. If you understand at 16 that people who talk to you like this are liars, it is like superpower, super advantage to know who not to trust and not believe. Super valuable. So now I let you in on this. It's super value. Now, in medicine, we have symptoms that can mean that the person has a disease. Now, if you have right upper quadrant pain here, you could have cholecystitis. You could have an infected gallbladder. But sometimes right upper quadrant pain just means you have an ulcer or maybe indigestion or something else. But there are certain symptoms that are pathognomonic that always mean you have this disease. If you have this symptom, if you have this blood test, you have this disease. And so if you are an oath taker in your regular language, you have a problem with lying. And if you talk to somebody and they have it, they have a problem with lying. And so this is valuable to know. Recently, about a year ago, I was looking at a job for the construction company, and the person that was talking about doing the job for me constantly said, "I swear to God." Constantly. I spent about 30 hours pricing this job. Over and over again, he told me the job was mine. Did I believe him? No. Was I disappointed when I didn't get the job? No. And so that's point number one. Actually, I have 7 more points about lying. If you want to start to write these down, these will be very valuable for you. Number 1, this is a common point about lying. Most people have heard this. One seldom meets a solitary lie. You seldom stumble across a single lie. Truth can stand alone, but a lie cannot stand alone. It's very easy to tell one lie. It's very hard to tell just one lie. Does everyone understand that? Because love covers a multitude of sin, but when you try to cover lies, the only thing you can cover it with is another lie. And so one lie always has 7 more lies waiting on it. And one needs to have a very good memory if one is a liar. Abraham told me about a car accident that he was sitting at a stoplight and somebody hit him. There were 2 other cars involved, and I wasn't sure who was at fault till I read the police report. And one of the drivers claimed that she was blinded by the sunlight, and that's how she hit the other car. And that it wasn't clear to me whether she had run the red light. She was definitely speeding. The only problem with that the sun was blinding her was that it was early in the morning and she was driving west. And on this planet, the sun rises in the east. Okay? You follow me? The sun was in my eyes. Not I was speeding, ran the red light because I was texting. The sun was in my eyes. Okay? You follow me? So one lie leads to another. After that, I didn't have any doubt who the cause of the accident was. And I happened to drive that way in the morning frequently, so that's when it dawned on me, wait a minute, the sun is in my eyes when I'm coming the other direction. Number 2, so point 1, one seldom meets a solitary lie. 2, lying is far more serious than profanity. You hit your thumb on the hammer and a swear slips out a sin, but a sin far less. Now, I know the Bible says all sin is sin, absolutely, and all sin needs the blood of Jesus, absolutely. But hear me out on this. Lying is more serious than just a simple swear word. My father, when I was a child, used to wash my mouth out with soap when I told a lie to him. What I would do is I would tell a lie, and first thing he would do is ask me to stick out my tongue to see if there was a black spot on my tongue. Now, he was lying about my lying, but he knew right away whether I stuck my tongue out right away or not, whether I was lying. And then what he would do is he would get the bar of soap, and he would put the bar of soap in my mouth for lying. Not just a little bit, the bar of soap. Okay? Now what happens, first of all, when I was a kid, they're not like these bars of soap now that, your wife's got like 10 different ones. This was the family bar of soap that was filthy. It had dirt all over it. I don't know how anybody could get clean with this bar of soap. And in the mouth it went. And after a while, something happens when you put a bar of soap in your mouth, which has saliva in it, which is you start to lather your mouth. And bubbles start coming out of your mouth. You start swallowing the soap. You get nauseous. It's a great lesson. I almost asked him to come just to make the point that he made the point to me that lying is a big deal. When you lie, you lose that hedge of protection that a man shouldn't break. When Samson broke the binds around him, he wasn't breaking binds of truth. He was breaking binds of lies. The truth will set us free. And so it is not for men to play with oaths the way the children play with nuts and crack them, and you crack a nut and you get something good inside. No, when you break your word, when you tell a lie, bad things happen. Lying is much more serious. That goes with promises. Do not make promises to your children that you do not keep. The very fact that if you tell your kids something, you say, I promise, means you're a liar. You don't need to say, I promise. If you tell your kids something and you do it, they don't need to hear anything else, and they're not going to forget. Keep your promise to your kids. 2, keep your promise to your spouse. They're not going to forget either. I can verify that. Keep your promise to everyone, your boss, your employer, your neighbor, your mailman. I don't know. Just keep your promise to somebody. Just be known as somebody who is reliable. Number 3, this is a big one. Lying is a portal for so many sins. You know what a portal is? Now these like Avenger movie where there's a portal and you go into this other world or something, or the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where you go in the wardrobe and then there's a portal to Narnia. Vortex. Okay, I'll go portal, you go vortex. Tomato, tomato. What do I mean by that? Lying is a portal for so many sins. When you're a kid, you call your mom, I'm sleeping over my friend's house, and then you go over your boyfriend's house. That's using lying first to go and deceive your parents. Cheating on your wife. I'm going to be working late, honey. I'll be home later. Cheating on your wife. Lying cracks the door open to these other sins. This is a true story. Nobody who's in here. They texted me that they were sick and they couldn't come to work. And we've all, I don't know if, sometimes when we text something to someone and then that sort of text thread stays open and we think we're texting somebody else. You with me? The person texts me, they had a second job. They texted me what they were working on their second job. Hey, take a look at this. What do you think? You know how now you can erase like what you text? Sorry, I looked at it too quick. It didn't disappear. I saw it. But this is lying again, to open to stealing from an employer. And so sometimes people just fall back on lies. I had a family member. She was an attractive person. I'll lie my way out of this. I'll cry a little. I'll blink my pretty eyes. I never could rely on that. I'll tell you that right there. But now everybody has heard this, that what happens with liars, or I think most people have heard this, a liar is a thief, and a thief is a liar. Because you use lying to steal. Oh, I'll be leaving work early, or I'll lock everything up. And you use lying to steal, and then when you steal, you lie about it afterwards. You follow me on that? And so I read this, it was a proverb that I think it's pretty cool. Sin has many tools, but lie is the handle that fits them all. Sin has many tools, but lie is the handle that fits them all. I bought a window washing kit from Germany, and they had this one handle that every accessory you could imagine just snapped onto it perfect. It's like buying Playmobiles from Germany. Every piece fits perfect. You get other toys and stuff, and everything breaks and doesn't fit. Well, this one handle worked for everything you could ever want to use. One handle fits it all. And so it is with sin, that it's just provides this entryway to all kinds of other sins. The other thing is that many people will lie to avoid punishment. They didn't do something, so they lie about it. When somebody lies to avoid punishment, they're showing that they're being very bold with God, but a coward to people. You're bold with God because God knows you're lying, and you're telling God, I don't care, I'm not afraid of you, I don't think anything bad can happen to you. And you're a coward with everybody else. That doesn't make sense. I wouldn't advise that. You're better off taking your punishment. When you play chess, there's something called touch, move, touch, take. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? If you touch a piece of your own, you have to move that piece. If you touch another player's piece, you have to take it if you can legally take it. When I was a kid, I was in a chess tournament, and I did that. I just barely did it. And I realized as I was doing it that this would, it was a very bad move. I was going to lose the game. And I just made the move because I had to follow by that, and I lost that round. And it affected me. It was a careless error. But you have to live with it. Own up to your punishment. Don't cover it up with a lie, which makes it so much worse. Where are we at? So 1, lying is seldom solitary. 2, lying is more serious than simple profanity. 3, lying is a portal to many other sins. Okay, 4, lying about small things says a lot. Lying about small things says a lot. Like I mentioned, that people who vow all the time, it should blink red that these people are untrustworthy. People who are caught in small lies, it says a lot. Even exaggerating all the time. Exaggeration seems harmless, but it says a lot. People who lie for no reason, it says a lot. Say what you mean and mean what you say. See, when people are lying in small things, they're saying something about themselves that's very revealing, because they have very little reason to do it, which means it's more deeply embedded. Jesus, in a sense, makes the point when he's like, don't take vows of heaven or earth or Jerusalem, but then he even gets down to a hair on your head. You see, Jesus is saying God is there in great things, in big things, heaven, earth, all that. God is there in all the biggest things, but God is there in the little things too. And, you know, what's littler than a hair on your head? Don't say on my head, please. Tough crowd today here, but all right. True story. When I was a kid, I can remember my parents were whispering. My uncle came over, and something serious was going on in the house. Now, of course, parents, when you start whispering and your kids have supersonic hearing as a young kid, of course you can hear everything, the kid. And you're going to get super tuned in when they're whispering, when if they're just talking normally, you wouldn't pay any attention to them. And so my parents are whispering, and it comes to find out that my dad is concerned. He has a small family business, and he has multiple family members that work there, but he has a bookkeeper. And the bookkeeper came to work that day with a new pair of sneakers, and they were on lunch break. And my uncle Peter said to the bookkeeper, "Oh, you got a new pair of sneakers?" He said, "Yeah. I just went to Zayre's. It used to be a store in North Reading. It's long gone. I went to Zayre's. I had my old junky sneakers. I went to the shoe department. I took off my old junky shoes. I put them in the shoe box. I put a new pair of sneakers on, put them on, and just walked out of the store." Now, why would my father and his brother be freaked out that their bookkeeper just walked into Zayre's and stole a pair of sneakers? Dishonesty. So it turned out that the bookkeeper had stolen in the 1970s almost $100,000 from my family, this is an extended family of multiple families, like a family business of 5 other families that almost bankrupted the family. But how did they find out? Did he come in there and say, "I feel bad about this"? No, they saw that he stole a pair of sneakers. And somebody who would walk in and steal a pair of sneakers will steal from you. And so small things say a lot. Watch the little lies. You think of a Song of Psalms 2:15, watch the little foxes that tear up the vineyard. You know what the problem with the little foxes that tear up the vineyard are? They don't just take 1 or 2 grapes here or there. They chew on the vine. They dig up the roots. And so these little lies, pay a lot of attention to them. Point number 4. Is everybody getting something out of this here? I had a lot of fun working on this. I could have probably made 10 more points. Number 5. This is going to sound like a shocker. There is always worse than lying. What? I've heard many a times, and this is almost always men who do this. It sounds something like this. All I've got is my word. Sometimes they add something else there, but let's just leave it this way. All I've got is my word. What is going on there is that this particular man, who almost for sure is a liar, but is saying, in this situation, I'm honest And if you question my honesty, you're offending my conceit and my pride. The devil will always trade up for you one sin for another. He'll always trade up. Beware of sin substitution. The devil will give you some honesty, a modicum of honesty, if he can throw on your plate a pound of pride. You follow me on this? The man who says, all I got is my word. They always say it in a real deep voice. All I've got is my word. Right here. Self-conceit is self-deceit. Who is man? You are just a vapor, a puff. You are dust, dust to dust. And so I make this point. This doesn't apply just to lying. The devil will always be happy to trade one sin for another for you so long as he's trading up. If somebody is really lazy and somebody else says, you're a lazy bum, you don't do a thing, and then you develop hatred for that person, I'll show them, and you do something with your life feeding on that negative energy all day, the devil's like, yeah, all right, I'll give you some success. Just keep up with the hatred. That's trading up. The devil trading up, okay, which means you're trading down. Okay, the devil doesn't make a deal with you unless it's good for him. I don't know if that's the right word. I hope everybody understands that. Number six, I like this one. Liars, lawyers, I repeat myself, and painters can make white black and black white. I threw the lawyers in there. No offense to any lawyers. I just lied. God forgive me. I mean to offend you because I've never seen, only lawyers can do that. When we were trying to buy this property, there had to be a clause that said that Fusion Church cannot use this property as a church. I says, well, but you said we could do it. No, this clause has to be in the contract and on the deed. Well, if it's on the deed that this place can't be used as a church, how can we use it as a church? Their lawyer says, no problem. We can write the contract. So in the first part of the contract, it says this property won't be used as a church. And then the next paragraph says, notwithstanding anything in the first paragraph, Fusion Church can use the church as a church. What? Yeah, no, they do that. Yeah, they can do that. Notwithstanding, that's a compound word. Think about it. There's no standing. So they did it. And I just said, wow, okay, that's great. But Pilate, what did Pilate do? He asked Jesus, what is truth? Think about this. Think about this. Pilate, a politician. I mean, gosh, you're talking about lying here. I mean, this is, politicians will say, I will never do this, never do this, never do this, never do this, and then they do this, right? Like, come on, politics. But Pilate, here. This is Pilate, right here. What is truth? What is truth? Who's he talking to when he asks, what is truth? Jesus is standing right in front of him. Sir Francis Bacon said he didn't wait for the answer. He didn't wait for the answer. Truth himself was staring him in the face, and he asked, what is truth? Only just politicians, lawyers, liars, painters can make white black and black white. We talked a long time about the machine, back to the garden, and that the idea of that there's a system in the world called a machine. And one of the things that I didn't completely talk about, but that the machine is constantly changing what the morality is of our society. Constantly. It's sort of like every day their morality gets updated like a phone. Every day. And they're all synced. And then if you even make the point that, well, I don't know, it wasn't that long ago that there were just men and women. They make like it's always been this other way. Do you understand what I'm saying? The lie is, no, this is what is true, and it's always been true, when both things are false from the machine. There's no different way to look at it with truth. Truth is more like a pearl. If you look at a pearl, a round pearl, it doesn't matter what angle you look at it, what light you have, it looks the same. There are stones like a diamond that, depending on the light and the angle, it looks very different. Truth is perfect in simplicity. But a lie has so many different angles. Part 7, point 7. Pathological liars believe their own lies. So what happens is that when you or I tell a lie, not if, but when, something goes on in our brain when we tell a lie right away. Like, I just told a lie. Or, no, I didn't just tell a lie. That happens. Just me. One of those two things has to happen when you tell a lie. I just told a lie, or no, I just didn't tell a lie. And when you tell a lie, if you're not a regular lie teller, you should feel bad. You should go to God. You should make it right. But if you cover it with, no, that wasn't actually a lie, then usually you can get away with very quickly telling another lie and then telling yourself, no, actually, I didn't just tell a lie there either. And you will reach a point where you will believe your own lies. Believe them. Absolutely believe them. And you can pass a lie detector test. And and all of us, I'm sure, have talked to pathological liars. And they will swear to God, oh, there we are with that again. And they will lie and lie. And you want to look up and see where the stick is, you know, the wooden thing with the strings on there. You know, who's the one? Like, that is, you talk about the devil is a liar and the father of lies. Pathological lie. We can have the worship team come up. Pathological liars can just destroy a situation. If you make a comment, an innocent comment to a pathological liar, that no offense is made and nobody would take offense, the pathological liar can look at that and say, he just offended me. But he didn't offend me. But no, he did just offend me because I feel offended. Because I just made up that I'm offended in my head, and I believe that. And I go on to not only feeling offended, but I believe I'm offended. And if I believe I'm offended, I am offended, and I'm going to show I'm offended, and I'm going to take offense. And when I take that offense, I'm going to be vindictive. And the other person's going to be like, huh? I got one more point. See, I lied. I said 7. I got 8. This is actually a flip side of point 7. There's a bonus. The term flip side, you need to be over 50. It comes from when records, 45 records, had a song on it, and there was a B side. There was a song on the other side. It was the flip side. And when you take a pathological liar that they believe their own lies, there's a flip side. There's an underbelly. There's an underside of that. And there's actually something worse than that they believe their own lies. I want you to try to think and guess what it is. One, it isn't that they believe their own lies. Two, it isn't even that other people don't believe them. Because of course that's true. The last point is that the ultimate punishment of a pathological liar is that they don't believe anybody else. They don't believe anybody else, even people who are telling the truth. They don't believe anybody else. Jaundiced eyes see everything yellow. So if you have liver failure, the sclera, the whites of your eye will turn yellow. Imagine you have that yellow filter on your eye and everything you see is yellow. Just like the cheating spouse is always suspecting that the other spouse is cheating on them. Just like the person who steals at whatever, the expression, there's no honor among thieves, that when one person's stealing among a group of friends, he's suspecting the others of stealing from them. Or people pull off a robbery together and then they're all stealing each other's money. Why is that such a big deal that they can't believe anyone else? Because if you can't believe anyone else, it will lead you to not believing in Christ. Because what did Jesus say, John 14:6? I am the way, the truth, and the life. And in between the way and in between the life is the truth. And if you want to be on the way to life, you got to go through truth. I just came up with that. God just came up with that. You want to go from way, who doesn't? Who doesn't want their way to lead to life and have it abundantly, as he says? Well, you got to pass through truth. And you got to, the buck stops with me is what Jesus is saying. I am truth. And it is, what a shame if you don't get to the place where you say, woe is me, I am a man of unclean lips and I live among a people of unclean lips. You need to repent of that. I had somebody that I know well that lied to me about something to do with drinking and driving. It was a very serious situation. And I asked the person about the situation, and the person told me, I swear on my children, I was like, don't. I was like, don't do that. That week, they get a knock on their door, taking your kids. That person lost their kids that day. That person called me 5 years later on Mother's Day to say, that day that I told you this, I lied. I lied. I have not seen my kids for 5 years. Didn't see them. You say, well, come on, must be visitations. I don't know. State of Florida. Don't ask me. That's what happened. You know what happened after the confession? She was reconciled to her kids when they became old enough to do what they want. They came back. And she was at her sink, and she saw a car pull up out front. And she said, God, you forgave me a long time ago. Today's my day. I'm going to meet my kid again. And one, and then later the other. That's a true story. And my wife knows who that person is. Someone very close to me. So I just tell you, Don't swear by heaven, earth. God is in everything. Be careful. Don't be a coward to man and bold with God and lie to him. If we're going to continue to go as a body and live amongst each other, these things that Jesus has been teaching us, teaching me, are foundational to us as a church.